Hey folks, this is Ariel Baruch here. I'm a licensed loan officer in New Jersey. I'm affiliated with the Contour Mortgage, and I am in AGB production studio here out of Central New Jersey. It's a great studio. I'm very pleased to work with this studio on recording this video clip. So today I want to talk about action plan, how to improve credit scores. Very important for people who apply for home loan. They had issues with getting approved, or they may have some blemishes on the credit history and they need to work on it. Many times what happens is that people have credit scores so low that they cannot even qualify for some of the best programs. So for example, I had a client back in February who had issues. His credit score was in 550s, and he took my action plan. He worked through it, and amazingly, I just spoke with him today. He increased his credit score 111 points. I'm talking about middle credit score. So what happens is that the banks look at all credit scores, all three credit scores from TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, and they take the middle credit score, and that's the one that is the most critical for qualifying for loan, and that's the one that will determine the interest rate. So the income and that will determine if person can qualify for a certain amount of money, for a certain amount of loan. But the credit score will determine the interest rate. So what happened to this client of mine is that his credit score was so low he couldn't even qualify for pretty much any program. So he took the plan, and I want to walk you through this plan. He executed the plan, and as of today, he increased his middle credit score by 111 points. This is amazing, and I think everybody should just take this action plan and just look at the credit history, the credit report, and see if they can apply it. So the first thing is it really helps to look at all three reports. So we have three major credit agencies, and really it helps to look at all three of them. What banks normally do when people apply for a home loan, they merge those three reports, what they call tri-merge report. And what happened with my client is that he had blemishes on his report. He had some debts to pay. He had some things that were delayed. And what we did, we used What If Simulator. What If Simulator is the program that allows us to manipulate different things, alternate different things on the credit report, and see how it will affect the credit score. So that's the very first thing I would recommend, is that first get tri-merge report if you can, or just get three separate reports, look through them and see what the blemishes are, and then work. If you need take a significant loan, like for example you're applying for a home loan, work with your mortgage company or your bank and ask them, do you have something like What If Simulator, where we can simulate different things? We can remove certain debts or certain late payments, or some blemishes on the credit history, and see how that affects the credit score. And by using that, you can determine the fastest way to improve your credit score. The second thing is, really people need to figure out how to reduce the credit utilization. So for example, if you have a credit card and has a maximum limit $3,000, try not to exceed 50% of that limit. If you do exceed regularly this threshold, so for example you spend $2,000 on a credit card that has a $3,000 limit, try to pay the debt when you reach 50% of the credit limit. So for example, you spend $1,500, your limit is $3,000, pay that debt during the month, and continue using the credit card. So by doing so, your credit utilization will be always below 50%. I strongly recommend that, especially until while you're applying for a large loan like a home loan. It really helps to keep that credit utilization below 50%. The next thing is set up automatic payments. It really helps. Just set it up. You don't need to worry about it. If your income allows, let it pay automatically, so you don't need to be in a situation where you accidentally forgot to make a payment. So let's go to the next slide. The next thing I recommend is ask your creditor if they can increase your limit. So sometimes what happens is that people salary increase. For example, they were making $70,000 a year. Their salary increased, maybe they're making $75,000. every year usually people get increases. Banks don't know it, so what I do recommend, call your creditor and just say, listen, my salary increased. Could you please increase my credit limit? And many times they will do it, and the trick is to do this with what they call soft pull. So they don't do a hard pull. They don't pull the whole credit history and check everything about you. They just do soft pull. They kind of get your income, they get some basic information about you, and make a decision to increase your limit. That's the best way to do it. You don't with every hard pull, the credit score usually goes down by a few points. It can be 4 points, 5 points. That's the experience we see with borrowers. With the soft pulls, there is no effect on credit score, so it's important to really, when you call your creditor, ask them to increase your limit, but without pulling your credit history. Okay. The next thing I would recommend is that look into for people who have very limited credit history, look into something like Experian Boost. Experian has a free service people can use where they can essentially go on the Experian website. I have a link. It's experian.com/consumer-product/score-boost.html. You can go to that page and you can use that service. It's free, and you can essentially use your utilities and telecom bills to help you establish the credit history. So some Experian does it. You may improve your credit score, at least with Experian, just by providing them your on timely payments for your utilities and telecom bills. The trick here is make sure you specify minimum payments that you pay for your services. Don't tell Experian that you're paying $200 for example, Comcast bill, which indeed you're paying a lot less than that, because it can come back and be a problem for you. Because if they get the wrong number, if they get the high amount of money you're paying regularly, it will essentially be your liability, because the way it looks on the credit report, it looks like a liability. So that's why it's important, if you do use this Experian Boost, make sure you tell them the minimum amount of money you pay for your service. So the next slide is consider asking relatives to add you as authorized user on their account. And the important part here, you really don't need to use the credit card. So for example, what happens is that people may have a lower credit scores. They want to improve their credit scores. They can call parents, ask, could you please add me to your credit account? And the parent can keep the credit card. You don't really have to use it. But just by adding your name to somebody else's account who has a better credit score can almost immediately improve your credit score. So it's important, if you have somebody in your family, you can ask them to add you to to one of their credit accounts. Do it. It definitely will give you ability to improve your credit score without doing essentially anything. And next thing I want to point out is that sometimes things happen. People move, they don't receive bills. They get mailed to the wrong area, wrong address, and they end up not paying the bills. They have late payments. So what you can do is call creditor and just ask, could you please remove the late payment that you may have years ago, and they still report it. The way it works is that the credit agencies report what the creditor gives them. So if the bank, let's say Bank of America, with whom you might have had card in the past, had a late payment, the bank will keep reporting that information. So the important thing here is really fix the problem at the source, which is with the creditor. In this case, with the Bank of America. Call Bank of America and say, listen, I have this issue. I moved. You sent the bill to the wrong place. I did not pay it on time. I had a late payment. Could you please remove it? And many times, they actually will remove it. So I do strongly recommend that. Now, regarding accounts with the derogatory information, where let's say people had charge-offs, collection, some serious problems, I do recommend call the creditor and ask, what can I do in good faith to improve my standing with you? What can I do in good faith what can I do as a goodwill action to improve my standing with the creditor? And some will say nothing, but others will say you can do X, Y, and Z, and you just have to follow through this X, Y, and Z. So for example, they may say you have to pay a certain amount of money that was charged off. For example, if they charged off $2,000, they may say, well, if you pay $1,000, we'll remove it from the credit history. Or they may say many different things. So it's really up to the borrower to call the creditor and ask, what can I do in good faith, and just listen what the creditor will say. It's very important that you kind of understand what the creditor expectation is and follow what the creditor says. So some will say there's nothing can be done, but others will say yes, we can do X, Y, and Z, so just do it. So the last slide I want to go over is definitely dispute any incorrect information. People, things show up on the credit history that may either should not be there or don't belong there, or just outright incorrect information. So definitely dispute that. Make sure you go through your report. You can get the free reports every year annually. But if there is a concern, you can always pay the credit agency. The trick is, though, if you want to have a phone support from credit agency, you really want to pay, whatever it is, $10, $15, get the report. That report will have a number. So when you call Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, they will most likely ask for that number. Otherwise, they will not even allow you to talk to a live person. So it's important. It may be important for you to just buy the report so you have that number, so you can actually talk to the live person. And the last thing I want to talk about is writing goodwill letter to creditors. It's important for the creditor it's important for the borrower to have a clear relationship with the creditor. So I would say that there are situations where people were caught off guard. Maybe they had a huge medical bills. Maybe they got laid off. Maybe there was a divorce. Maybe there was some major thing that happened. They did not expect it. Nobody expected it. And because of that, they fell behind on their debts. So many times the creditor will take that into consideration, but the borrower needs to take proactive step and write what we call a goodwill letter. I have a link here on a slide, www.magnifymoney.com/blog/college students and recent grads/student loan goodwill letter. This is just an example of the goodwill letter. You can use that as an example. The way the letter should be structured is essentially explain what happened, explain why it happened, and explain what kind of steps you can take to address what happened. For example, you can propose to pay off some debt that was discharged. Okay, so those are few brief steps that I strongly recommend to people take into account. Look at the credit histories, see what blemishes may be there. It will definitely help you increase your credit scores, and most importantly, it will help you decrease interest rate on any future credit that you want to borrow. Okay, so with that, I'll conclude. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, 609-222-1222, my phone number, or you can also reach out to Contour Mortgage